Hi there. I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. Pleased to welcome you to today's webinar. It's entitled Solving Challenges of Modern Application Development with Java. Your presenter today is Manish Gupta. He's Vice President of Marketing, Java and Graal VM with Oracle. But before I bring Manish onto the stage here, let me give you a little bit of background on what he's going to talk about today. Organizations of all sizes in all industries are modernizing their applications to remain competitive in the digital economy. Often these organizations find themselves in various stages of modernization, requiring diverse tools and management capabilities for secure and efficient development and deployment. In this session today, you'll find out how innovations in the Java ecosystem are helping organizations to meet challenges across the modernization journey. You'll learn about evolution in the application modernization journey, about balancing the needs of various deployment environments across the application estate, the greatest challenges of application modernization, and areas of focus to improve your modernization effort. Now, some background on my organization, Information Security Media Group. We're a 15-year-old education and intelligence firm, a global firm based in Princeton, New Jersey. You may know us by one or more of our 35 or so global media sites. These include Bank Info Security, Gov Info Security, and Data Breach Today. In all, we reach an audience of 950,000 subscribers around the world, and we give them a daily diet of news, analysis, research, events, and educational sessions just like the program you're attending here today. Just some housekeeping notes, please. If you have any questions throughout this session, you can submit them anytime by the chat window on your screen. We likely won't be able to get to every question today, but for those that we can't answer in the course of this session, we will get responses back to you via email. Now, if you should experience any technical issues while viewing today's webinar, please dial the number you see on your screen now. If you dial extension 115, we do have technical support staff standing by to help. Also, I do need to remind you, today's session is copyrighted material, and it's meant for today's webinar and for its study purposes only. If you'd like to use any of the information presented today, or if you're looking for customized training materials, please contact us. A few words about our sponsor today. Oracle is an integrated technology company providing technology solutions for businesses worldwide. Oracle provides businesses with an integrated range of applications, storage, databases, cloud technologies, and servers to help empower modern businesses. Oracle technology has been used by more than 420,000 customers across 195 countries to accelerate their digital transformation. Oracle technology has been harnessed by industry leaders in fields such as aerospace, insurance, retailers, SaaS providers, universities, and manufacturers. To learn more, please visit oracle.com. And now let's welcome to our stage Manish Gupta. Again, he's the Vice President for Global Marketing for Java and Graal VM at Oracle. He has a quarter century of leadership experience marketing solutions in the areas of databases, cloud-based integration and data management, in-memory processing, and timing and synchronization. He holds master's and bachelor's in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech and an MBA from Santa Clara University. With that, let's bring on to the center stage here, Manish Gupta. Manish.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you today?
Very well.
So let's get started here. We're going to talk about app modernization. A lot of organizations view this as a critical element of business modernization. Talk about the categories that organizations tend to fall into when they approach modernization, just to set our context.
Yeah, Tom, we are fortunate to have a vantage point that's very unique, being the leading innovators behind Java and the stewards of the Java ecosystem with a platform that's truly pervasive around the world in all sizes of organizations in every industry. We get to see what's happening within those organizations, how those organizations are evolving, and how they're competing with the suite of applications they have. Some of our customers and organizations we deal with have thousands of applications based in Java. Some may have tens of applications, but regardless of that, they all tend to be in this hyper movement, hyper agile transition, whether you call it digital transformation, business modernization, whatever your term might be, it really underpins and is based on app modernization. They are either maintaining and actively managing applications that might be on-prem. They might be in a mode of what we generically call, or what the industry calls modernization, that can fall either in a category of moving from on-prem to the cloud, or simply bringing in new architectures and better performance and trying to modernize it, get more out of their existing investment, or they might be building brand new applications on-prem or in the cloud. So it's either maintain, modernize, or make. One of those three categories that we define the organization that we deal with on a regular basis.
Manish, as organizations go into this strategy, what do you find their goals for modernization tend to be?
Every company, every organization, public sector, private sector, is dealing with the digital transformation, is dealing with the competitive environment they're in at their own pace. The dynamics are very unique to them. The goals of modernization tend to be unique as well. Sometimes they're focused on enhancing and improving the customer experience. Sometimes it might be about boosting the performance of their applications and internal systems. Sometimes it may simply be about making their internal operations more efficient. Sometimes it might be about changing in strategy on how they're deploying, what percentage of the workload is on-prem, what percentage is on cloud, where did they start, where did they transition? And some of it might simply be at a very high level. It's a digital transformation strategy. They're moving from the analog world to digital world and might be very early in their progression through the life cycle. So the goals are quite varied. And this is where this topic of app modernization is a very complex topic, because it means different things to different organizations.
Manish, you used the word unique, and I'm trusting that it's a unique modernization journey for most enterprises. Even so, what do you find in common from the enterprises you have observed?
Yeah, I think one thing is common is no organization is sitting still, right? There is activity at one form or the other, whatever the terms might be used. In one of the recent analyst studies, we learned that only 7% of applications or organizations are intending to keep their applications as is and not touch them at all, which means 93% of those organizations in that survey are intending to make some changes. And changes could be, very small in nature. Sometimes they can be quite significant in nature. We think of modernization as, depending on, as I mentioned earlier, in some change that's happening. And whether it's moving from on-prem to the cloud, it could be changing of your development platform. It could be refactoring in the hope of getting better performance and optimization. It could be change of languages. It could be decomposing a very large monolithic application into smaller microservices, perhaps, or smaller applications, moving some of them to the cloud, retaining some on-prem. One of those dynamics is at play, because you cannot sit still in an environment where the application lifecycle is shortening every day. Long gone are the days where you could have an application run for 20 years without doing anything, and that was just fine. Today, you find, depending on the space you're in, the applications may have to be altered on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and in some cases, maybe on an annual basis, but really not much more than that. So the commonality across all of this is that there is movement happening in all parts of an organization. A small company running 5 applications, a mega organization running 20,000 applications are all going through some sort of change.
So Manish, we'll get to some of the business benefits in a bit, but first I want to ask you about the question that CISOs love to ask in situations such as these. What are the challenges and risks, speed bumps really, that they're likely to face along the way?
It's very easy for a business manager to propose a modernization project, to propose a change in architecture, because that's where we want to go, right? We want to modernize for efficiency, for performance, for better economics, for better competitive posture in the marketplace. But along all of these things, no matter what action you intend to take to move from state A to state B, there are risks associated with it. There is no real simple thing. There used to be a time where people would say, lift and shift. Take your on-prem application, put it in the cloud, and you'll get the benefits of elasticity. You'll get the benefits of economics that are more preferable in the cloud, and so on. I think, well, that's true that you do get the benefits. The lift and shift moniker is really incorrect, because in every instance, you are having to refactor, re-architect, think about the new dynamics in which you are going to operate your app. Think about the workload efficiency. Think about the experience changes that might happen for your immediate or end user that's using the application. So the changes come with challenges, they come with risk. The very first thing that comes to mind is there is a time and cost associated with the changes. How long will it take something? How much will it cost to take? And will your estimates be right? Will you budget it appropriately? Second is, when you move to a new environment or you move to a new architecture, do you now have the competency in the team? Do the skill sets exist to deal with this new environment, whether it's a language, a platform, a deployment environment, a new set of toolkits, the operating model, the processes, the procedures? Do you have that team and skill sets to truly take advantage of what you anticipate the benefits to be? Management of costs, not simply in the cost of doing the project, but long-term management of what you've now encountered or now rested into state B. What does that look like? How will you manage it? And so the challenges of taking from step A or state A to state B, and then the long-term management risks that come with it, are all part and parcel of what must be considered as the executive sponsor these projects, no matter how small or how big they might be. Those risks and challenges must be taken into account before embarking on these journeys.
Manish, we mentioned Java in the overview. What does make Java ideal for modernization, please?
The things I just mentioned about risks and the challenges associated when you embark on a journey, and when you're in the middle of the journey, when you feel like you are at the tail end of the journey, there are just incredible number of unknowns throughout the journey. And you want to be able to mitigate the risks at every stage of the way, so you have better control over the dynamics. You have cost control, time control, resource control. As much as you can manage or put your arms around, the lower your risk is going to be. And that's where an ecosystem, a 25-year history, a large number of toolkits, all of those things come to play that Java brings to the table. And at the very core of it is what Java was all about, and that has not changed. It was about abstraction and portability, right? The term of build once and deploy anywhere is what Java has been about and continues to be. You want to be able to take something that you build in place A and be able to deploy in place B, and it still works. You want to be able to take that application that you build, take the different supporting infrastructures that might be there, and make sure that your application can now work in that environment, whether it's still on-prem or moving to the cloud or perhaps running in hybrid environment. And this abstraction and portability really empowers the application developer, if it's built in Java, to take advantage of those capabilities and facilities in the platform, in the development language, that you can deal with these dynamics. The second one is, which is really, really incredible for something that's been around for 25 years, is the ability to improve the performance of your existing code simply by improving the performance of the JVM on which that code is running, right? As soon as you get an improvement in the JVM, you now are able to experience the benefit of that performance across your application base. That's incredibly powerful, because you're not having to rejigger and re-architect the whole thing to improve the performance, but by the boost in the JVM, you're able to get that. So those, I call kind of the nuts and bolts of the platform itself. But what is incredibly powerful about Java beyond these core elements is what comes with this massive community. Today, there are over 10 million developers that are full-time. Of course, if you add the part-time developers, it's many, many times that, right? That are working and have been working with Java, whether you're kids coming out of high school, college grads, or fresh workforce entrants, or folks that have been working with Java for 25 years, right? They all bring value to this skill base, the competency that's available to every organization, large and small, that's thinking about or is middle of their journeys for modernization. This massive ecosystem brings with it tools, it brings vendors and providers that bring the capability that makes the life of the application developer, the DevOps person that perhaps is running the cloud ecosystem, makes it easier for them to embark and manage the journey of modernization. You know, Java has over 50 billion JVMs that are deployed around the world across all industries. It is, you know, if you look at the analyst reports, number one in analytics, number one in big data, number one for microservices, number one for cloud native deployment, and many, many other trends that are there. So you can rest and feel comfortable that you're going with a technology that worked before, that works now, and will work in the future. It is the leading edge technology that has served you for 25 years on wherever your architecture had been and will continue to serve you into the future. It's a preferred choice for every single instance and leading trend that you might be embarking in your modernization journey. So I think that comfort factor, the core elements of abstraction, portability, the performance boost that you get, and the added benefit of this massive ecosystem that continues to innovate on a regular basis, you know, packages and makes Java ideal for modernization. You know, we call this trust, innovation, and predictability as the three pillars for Java. And it's been a platform and language that's been open and free and continues to be. And as long as Oracle is driving, will continue to be. It has a large number of vendors that are supporting the elements, as I've talked about, across the entire software delivery toolchain. The innovation part is a continuous innovation, not coming from one organization, but thousands of individuals and organizations. Of course, under the stewardship of Oracle, but participants coming from all walks of life. And then you bring in new capabilities and toolkit that start perhaps in Java, such as GraalVM, built, it's a compiler, high performance compiler, written in Java, brings value back to the Java ecosystem by providing cost efficiency and higher performance, but also to other ecosystems, because we live in a polyglot world. Yes, Java is number one, but you've got other languages within the applications base that you might be leveraging in your environment. So GraalVM, born in Java, bringing value to Java, an example of how the ecosystem continues to spur new innovations and brings that to the table on a regular basis. And finally, predictability, right? You wrote an application, you want it to run, you want it to be backwards compatible, you don't want it to stop working or performance to be degraded, right? Degraded over time. And that's what Java promise has been. It's predictable. It works, it will work. And now, you know, over 3 years ago, we announced the 6-month release cadence. So you have predictability that every 6 months, you're going to get a new version of Java that's going to come with it new capabilities and new performance parameters, which is great. And, you know, one of these studies from analysts came up, what if your application is written in Java, you are 2.5 times more likely to complete your project on time versus other options. That's, to me, is a fantastic statistics when you're considering your modernization goals and objectives.
Manish, you covered a lot there. I know one of the things you said up front was this is not lift and shift. That said, what are your recommendations to organizations as they proceed down this modernization journey?
Yeah, I think there might be a desire to think of it simply like it's lift and shift, but the, you know, as I've talked about today, there are many elements that have to be considered. And so my recommendation to a CIO or a CTO that's considering sponsoring a modernization project is to have a long-term view. You know, we don't live in a static world. What changed from yesterday to today is guaranteed to change for tomorrow. And if you take a long-term view into your decision-making, into your overall organization, execution, and operational structure and processes, you're likely to think about not just what's hot and heavy today, but really what's going to work for you tomorrow and the day after, right? And that long-term view and planning is really critical. Go with a platform that has shown longevity, go with a platform that's here for today, and certainly will serve you for the upcoming years.
Well, that's a good description of Oracle as a company. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Manish.
No, yeah, it's really important, I think, the long-term view, because we all tend to get carried away with the fads of the of what's working today, what's exciting today. But I think when you're trying to put together a sustaining environment that is going to be competitive and enable you to lead in the marketplace, you want to have something that prepares you for that long-term journey. The next thing is make sure you have choices that give you flexibility. Don't want to get locked into something that is driven by a single company or a single vendor. Make sure that the ecosystem is there to give you the flexibility across your software delivery lifecycle, right? So you have the right tools, you have the right support, you have the right capabilities when and as and when that you need them. And finally, institute processes and tools that are predictable, right? You're going to run a certain cadence of updates. Could be weekly, hourly, quarterly, whatever that works for you. You're going to need updates across the various tool chain that you have. Make sure the things that you choose give you that level of predictability that can map to your own business cadence and your business pace. That is really, really important so that you are running at your pace and your pace is not dictated by the vendors or the suppliers or platforms.
Manish, let's talk more about Oracle. What are you doing to help your customers on this modernization journey? And please be specific.
Yeah, certainly, Tom. We think of helping kind of our audience. Let's call it that in a second, in two buckets. Right. First is the community itself. We want to make sure that Java community is vibrant and the innovation is truly continuous and it continues to accelerate with us and with the help of partners that we have around the world. So that's, I think, number one. And then for customers that work very closely with us, right, what we have done is we've packaged the capabilities that are needed for the entire gamut of elements you need across the modernization journey into a simple consumable offering called the Oracle Java SE subscription. And the subscription is meant to be a transparent model. It's pay as you go. The pricing is published on the website. The discount structure is published on the website. It tells you what the cost is when you're running on the server side, what the cost is when you're running on the desktop or the client side. And it tells you what all you get with it. You get the Oracle JDK license. You get updates to releases that have reached end of public updates. You get 24/7 support in 27 languages. You get access to the best technical team there is, and some very unique technology components recently that have been added to the capability. So I'll talk about that a bit more. So the first one I touched upon was GraalVM. Now, the Enterprise Edition is called GraalVM Edition, and now the entitlement to that is included as part of the Java SE subscription at no additional cost to the customer. And this is a phenomenal technology that's been used at scale with large social media companies, with financial institutions, where it gives you, if you operate in just-in-time mode, or the JIT mode, you get instant performance boost on the code you already have running. So no changes required. If you like instantaneous startup times, you can run it in AOT mode or ahead of time compilation mode. And that gives you the performance. And both of these modes operate at a smaller footprint where your compute requirements, your memory requirements are much smaller than would be just running your standard JVM. And this makes it ideal for now Java with GraalVM to operate in a cloud native world or operate with microservices frameworks. And so GraalVM Enterprise being part of the subscription now is a powerful addition at no incremental cost to the customer. So we want to make sure we are continuing to bring these values to our customers that are benefiting from subscription across the modernization journey. And the final thing I'll put in here is, when you're managing a large suite of applications in your entire estate, you want to have better visibility. You want to get insights. You want to get recommendations on enhancement over time. And any tool or any service that can give you that is absolutely critical for the folks that are managing this large Java estates, application estates. So what we did recently was announce a Java management service that is also available with the subscription at no additional cost to the customers. They get as part of the Java SE subscription. And with this, they're able to manage applications running on-prem, applications that are running in the cloud, applications that might be perhaps running in a hybrid model. So you're able to get insights, you're able to see what the status of releases, the versions, the security baseline, and many other things that give you readiness for secure and stable environment to operate at the best performance. So Java Management Service is, again, another really important element of what we brought to the table to enable our customers to manage their modernization journey better.
Manish, we've covered an awful lot in a short period of time here. If you were to sum this up, what are your closing thoughts before we get to Q&A on modernization as a journey?
Yeah, it's truly not a destination, Tom, as we've discussed. It's a journey. And organizations need to think about continuous evolution of their application portfolio to remain competitive in the marketplaces they operate. How do they manage risk while accelerating the pace of change and maximizing the flexibility within their business construct? We believe that Oracle's Java SE subscription offers organizations of all sizes and across all segments the best position for success throughout their modernization journey.
Manish, you mentioned the Java SE subscription. Now, we got some questions coming in. I want to remind attendees, if you have questions for Manish, send them in now if you've not sent them yet. We won't be able to get to every question, but those that we can't answer today, we will get responses back to you via email. First of all, Manish, thank you so much for sharing your insight up to this point. Thank you.
Certainly, Tom. My pleasure.
Now, you were mentioning the Java SE subscription. The first question I have for you is, how is that subscription doing in the marketplace?
Yeah, a very good point. We launched it 3 years ago. It was a complete unknown. When you bring a new offering to the marketplace, you just don't know what the uptake might be. From our viewpoint, giving the organizations the flexibility to move at their cadence, giving them transparency, was all things we packaged together and felt would be very powerful. Good news is that it really has worked very well. Now, over 3 years, we have thousands of organizations that have taken advantage of the value that comes with the subscription. They range from the global, 2000s, so Fortune 10 organizations with tens of thousands of employees, all the way down to small development houses that may have 5 employees. So it's really, it's been gratifying to see that we've been able to bring the value across the entire set of organization base and across all industries in the world, as opposed to only focus on the high end. Every organization has taken advantage of this, and we continue to see the acceleration of adoption of the Java SE subscription.
Manish, the next question I have for you: does Java Management Service manage applications in the cloud or on premises?
Yeah, maybe clarify a bit more. So Java Management Service is a native service running on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. So while your dashboard runs on OCI, you're actually able to manage your applications and workloads regardless of which cloud they're on, regardless of on-premise or in a hybrid mode. So you really do have the complete flexibility and a complete comprehensive view into your deployment estate, whether it's on-prem, on any cloud, or in private cloud, or in a hybrid mode. All of that is available. So it truly is broad in its perspective.
Manish, I've got one more question for you before I wrap up here. Which frameworks does Graal VM Enterprise work with, please?
Yeah, a very, very important question. Whenever we think about technologies, we always think about, oh, this is great, it'll save me money and it'll give me higher performance. But I think what's really important for a broad success is, do you have the support of the toolkits, the frameworks, the technologies within which you will operate? And so Graal VM has received significant interest and adoption around many technologies and frameworks. So it works with Spring Boot, it works with Quarkus, it works with Peladon, it works with Micronaut and other frameworks. And we expect that list to continue to grow. Our objective has been to make Graal VM really become pervasive. So you can take the performance benefit and the cost efficiency or the resource efficiency that comes with it and apply it to the Java ecosystem for the microservices and cloud native environments, which tend to be kind of the focus in many of the modernization journeys.
Manish, thank you so much. Again, I appreciate your insight today, what you shared through the presentation and our discussion, but also thank you for answering these questions. The attendees are grateful.
My pleasure, Tom. Great speaking with you.
Of course, I want to thank our attendees because you took time out of your day to attend this. We're always grateful for that. I do trust that today's discussion provided some valuable new insight to enable you and your organization to proceed securely through modernization. I look forward to seeing you again at one of our upcoming sessions. Until then, for Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you for giving us your time and attention today.